business is, how to start it, how to kind of keep yourself compliant. And then if you guys have questions, you can either put them in the chat or, am I saying your name right? Zulika?
Zulika, that's
okay.
Right.
So you can just ask me those at the end, okay? So, no matter how small your business is, the first thing we need to do in starting a business is take the word small out of your vocabulary, okay? So, no one has a small business. We have a multi-million-dollar business, and so we need to run our business as such. Now, a lot of times people put all this stress on, well, I've never ran a business before, and I don't know this, and I don't know that. If you are a mom and you have kids, you can run a business. If you are a dad and you have kids, you can run a business. If you had anything where you've had to manage people, then you can run a business, okay? So business is really just getting your idea out to the public, and we're putting up like a fence around our personal assets so that we're always protected, okay? So point number one, there is no small business. We are a multi-million-dollar business, so we're going to conduct ourselves as such. So number one, this is you, okay? So no matter you're starting your business, you have a business idea, you really haven't started yet. Do I form my LLC? There are two types of entities, an LLC or a corporation. A corporation has a little bit more annual formalities, like a couple more pieces of paper to fill out, and you got to have meetings. So I always say, if you're just starting out, keep everything super simple and form an LLC. Now, if you are just starting your business, or thinking about starting a business, you are going to have personal assets, okay? You're going to have a car, you're going to have money in the bank, you're going to maybe have some property. So you do not want to walk around in these business streets doing business, exposing your house, your car, your money in the bank to potential creditors, okay? So you always want to form an LLC so that we're doing business with an entity that's not you, an entity that doesn't have a house, a car, and all that good stuff. You want to keep you separate from your business. In keeping yourself separate from your business, that means that everything you do has to be separate from your business, okay? So we can't just swipe the business card for personal expenses. We can't just use the business bank account, as our personal piggy bank. So you got to think multi-million-dollar business. It's me, and then it's my business. So one, there is no small business. We're all multi-million-dollar businesses. Two, we need to form an entity. I always say an LLC. It's super simple to form, super simple to manage, and we want to separate ourselves from the business. In separating ourselves from the business, there are some corporate formalities that we have to abide by to keep things separate, okay? So number one is there's going to be an annual report that you have to file with your state, either if you're an LLC or a corporation. You need to have a business bank account. So a bank account in your business name that is funded, not just having a bank account with no money in it. Depending on your industry, you are going to need to have some kind of insurance. And then we want to make sure, that we have, I would say, some kind of payment processing or point of sale system. So like a Square, a Stripe, a Clover. So you want to make sure that you're running your business like a real business. Now, sidebar, the IRS is now cracking down on businesses that are making $200,000 and less. So you want to make sure that we have documentation of exactly what our income is so that we're in compliance, okay? So we got our LLC. We're going to run it like an LLC. We're going to follow the corporate formalities. And what we want to make sure is that we are getting our product to the people or our idea to the people in a very efficient way, okay? So Depending on your business, there are certain contracts that we need to have to kind of, put this fence around us to make sure that we're running everything like a business. The first contract that every business owner needs to have is going to be called a copyright transfer agreement. This is going to transfer the ownership of any kind of content you pay someone to create for you. So if you have a logo, if you took any photos or a photo shoot for your product or your service, if anyone has written any kind of copyright, they wrote a book for you, a training manual, you want to make sure that you own everything in your business. What you don't want to do is start your business and then you blow up, and then now you want to sell your business and someone is coming after you for an enormous amount of money because they say, hey, I own that photo, I own that logo, I wrote that manual, and now I want to get paid. Okay, so the first contract everyone needs to have is going to be a copyright transfer agreement. If you go on my website, I do have that contract template for sale, and that's going to give you ownership in whatever kind of content someone creates for you. The second contract you always want to have for your business is going to be an NDA or a non-disclosure agreement or something called a confidentiality agreement. This basically says whatever goes on in my business is my business and does not need to be told to anyone else. So if we are pre-startup, we're thinking about doing a business, we have this great idea, and we're thinking about maybe partnering with someone else, we're thinking about maybe getting an investor. Before you go tell that great idea, you want to have them sign this NDA, saying whatever we discuss in this conversation stays between me and you cannot go run out and tell someone what I'm telling you, and you cannot run out and go do what it is that I'm telling you. If you already have your business up and going, and maybe you have employees who are working for you or independent contractors. Maybe they are in your CRM system. They know either who your clients are. They have your client contact information. They know who your vendors are. They have your vendor information. Maybe they may know some trade secrets. They may know the ins and out of your business. What you don't want them doing is getting all your client information and going out and telling your competitor, hey, this is a list of her clients. You don't want them getting all your vendors and going and telling your competitor or doing it or going and contacting your vendors themselves and saying, hey, this is what they're doing. If you have some kind of way that you make your secret sauce, or you make your barbecue or whatever it is that you're doing, you don't want someone going and telling your business out in the street. So an NDA makes sure that whatever's going on in your business, any kind of confidential information stays within the business. So contract number 1 will be your copyright transfer agreement. It'll be on my website. Contract number 2 will be an NDA or a non-disclosure agreement. That's on my website. Contract number 3 that we need will be a operating agreement. So in part of those LLC formalities where I was saying, keep things separate, file your annual report, you want your LLC to file as many corporate formalities as possible so that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. Ms. Babette, can you mute your mic, please? So an operating agreement is going to be basically the contract for your LLC. How your LLC is ran, how the profits are going to be distributed, how the losses are going to be distributed. Are there any kind of... The host would like you to speak. Am I muted?
Joy, looks like your mic is muted. Can you unmute?
Okay, I am muted myself. Okay, so the operating agreement is going to be the contract for the LLC, how it's ran, how the profits and loss are distributed. Is there a withdrawal limit as to how much a member can take out the bank? It basically tells you how your LLC is to be ran. If you don't have an operating agreement, then everything is going to default to your state's rules, and your state's rules may not be beneficial for you. And then number 2, if something were to happen, the attorney is going to ask for this documentation. So if you don't have it, then your LLC really does not look legit. So you want to make sure that your third contract you have is going to be an operating agreement, and it's on my website. The fourth contract that every business needs to have is if you have anyone working with you as an independent contractor. You want to make sure that if you're working with anyone, that we're all on the same page. I understand what you expect from me. You understand what I expect from you. We're on the same page as far as pay. We're on the same page as far as what our duties are. If they are a 1099 independent contractor, they understand that you're not paying any taxes for them. So at the end of the year, they're responsible for their own taxes. So in any kind of business relationship, you want to have a contract. So the independent contractor agreement is just making sure that we're on the same page. A lot of times, you know, we're excited to start business, or we're starting business with our bestie, and you know, we're focused on the colors and the logo and the marketing and the packaging. And a lot of times when the money starts coming in, that's when the problems start to happen. That's when, well, I thought I was going to do this and you thought you was going to do that. And so if everything is in writing, we're always on the same page. You know, so it's really easy to have a misunderstanding in business. That's normal. So by putting everything in writing in the beginning, it kind of eliminates, you know, any kind of mishaps. Okay, so the contracts that we need will be an NDA, a copyright transfer agreement, an independent contractor agreement, and your operating agreement. Okay. Now, one thing that I see a lot of people doing is they form their LLC, you know, they got their business bank account, you know, they got their EIN number, and they're going to use this one LLC, you know, to flow their multi-million-dollar enterprise. So let's just say I'm Joy, I'm selling earrings, and maybe I also have a makeup line, and then maybe I'm a trainer on the side. Okay, so I'm going to run my 3 enterprises out of my one LLC and get a whole bunch of DBAs, but I'm going to keep just one LLC. That's like the biggest misconception and the biggest mistake that I see small business owners doing. Okay, we are not a small business. Okay, we are a multi-million-dollar business. So we have to think of the lines of Amazon, of Walmart, of Sam's Club. Every business idea needs to have their own LLC. So if I'm doing earrings, my earring boutique will be LLC number 1. My personal training LLC will be LLC number 2. And we're keeping these separate, okay? So this one has a bank account, that one has a bank account. This one has their own POS system, that one has their own POS system. Contracts. We are keeping everything separate, and we're definitely keeping everything separate to have enough arms from us, okay? So we are not about to form one LLC and do a whole bunch of DBAs for this reason. Let's say I am the earring queen, okay? No one has better earrings than me, and my earring business is booming, okay? I have a store, maybe I have like a little sprinter van, I can go like to different festivals and things, and I'm selling my earrings at, you know, concerts, and because I'm slanging and banging, I got money in the bank, shawty what she drank, and then because I'm slanging and banging, I have like a lot of accounts. So maybe I am also selling my earrings to Claire's or different stores. So I have a lot of account receivables, you know, buying my earrings. Well, maybe I lost weight and I now want to, you know, start Joy's Get Fine, you know, personal training business. Well, Joy's Get Fine personal training business, she's new, okay? So she don't really have much, you know, we're trying to make something shake, so she doesn't have all what my earring business has. However, let's say I make something for one of my clients and it makes her sick because I left the bananas and the smoothies out too long overnight, and she gets food poisoning and she sues me, okay? If I'm running everything correctly out of Joy's Get Fine LLC, Well, if she sues me, she only gets whatever Joy's Get Fine LLC has. And because she's a new business, she don't really have much. So she's not getting anything. However, if I had just had everything under one LLC and I got sued under, DBA, Joy's Get Fine DBA, the person will be able to touch my earring accounts receivables, my earrings company van, and the money in the bank for my earring company. Okay, so this is why it is so important to have multiple LLCs. So every LLC you have, every business idea you have needs to be in a separate LLC, okay? The number one reason is for asset protection, because you don't want a creditor, coming over and touching what another business has. Another reason why you want to have multiple LLCs, and I'll get on this in a second, is that each of these entities represent a person, okay? So when we say business entity, a business entity, an LLC, or a corporation, in the business world, they're looked at as another person. So if you're just running a DBA and it's you, all you have is you, and only you can go into the bank, okay? But when you form an entity, and let's just say you form multiple entities, well, now all three of you guys can walk into the bank to get funding. And I'll touch on that in a second when I get to business credit. Okay, so one, we got our mindset together. There is no small business. We are multi-million-dollar business owners, so we are running our business as such. Number two, we are setting up our proper structure, our proper foundation, with our LLC or our corporation. Number three, we have our contracts in place to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that we are protected. Number four, we are not running multiple businesses under one LLC. And then number five is we are going to have a real business bank account. So a lot of times, how do I say this cute? I really can't say it cute, I'm more like a straightforward person. So a lot of times we don't run stuff right, okay? It's like we got this hustle, this nickel and dime mentality, and it kind of can run over into our business, okay? So if we are a multi-million-dollar business, can you go into Walmart and cash app the cashier at Walmart? You can't. If you go on Neiman Marcus today, can you go ahead and cash app your sales rep at Neiman Marcus? You can't. If you've ever worked at a regular job and you were a manager and you emptied out the cash register, like, did the person put the money in their pocket, or did they maybe put it like in a bank envelope and seal it up, and they jotted down what the cash was from tonight, and they deposited the cash either in a safe on site at the store, or a manager or the boss came and picked up the cash and put it in the bank. Okay, so since we're running a multi-million-dollar business, we're not just thinking multi-million-dollar, we're actually running it as a business. Okay, so our business bank account is going to be your business resume for your business. Whatever that bank account says that the business is doing, that's what the business is doing. And when we're in our hustle mentality mode, we sometimes say, well, I don't want people in my business, or I don't need to do all that, or I got to go to the bank. Well, we're running a business, so everything that your business touches needs to be accounted for. It's called a paper trail. Okay, so if I'm doing hair, okay, Joy, I can lay and slay, and she pays me $100, because I hooked her hair up. I don't need to go to Walmart and buy my son his snacks or re-up on groceries with that $100. That money needs to hit the bank account so that my business bank statement shows how much my business is making. Now, is it okay once the money hits the bank account for me to spend it in the correct format? Yes, it is, but a lot of times our biggest mistake is the money never hits the bank. Like, how many people are running a business and the business bank account balance is not what your business is making? And if I were to say, well, prove to me what your business is making, you got to pull up your Cash app, you got to pull up your Venmo app. You're going to write down, oh, well, so-and-so gave me this and so-and-so gave me that. And you're going to be everywhere when it comes to the money. This is called accounting principles, okay? The number one thing in the business after we structure ourselves and we have our LLC and we have our contract is the money, okay? Because one, what is the business making? How can you prove what your business is making? How can you prove the expenses of your business? If you pay for anything cash in your business, baby, the IRS is not going to give you credit for that. If you've ever been in an IRS audit, and I have, those are the real alphabet boys, okay? They're going to be coming to you talking about, do you know section blah, 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 and you're going to be like, no. And every receipt that you have that's for cash, and we don't have a paper trail showing how that cash hit the bank, guess what the IRS going to do with that receipt? Y'all ready? They're going to do this. Don't count. Next. Next. And the more expenses that you can't take credit for, that's the more money you're going to cut to the IRS. Okay, I've cut them multiple six figures. So I'm not telling you something like that I heard about, you know, Kiki and them done told me this. I have been with the real alphabet boys, and you do not want to play with them. Okay, so any money your business receives needs to be in the bank. The second reason why all your money needs to be in the bank is because eventually you're going to want to get funding. Okay? We got the monkeypox. Is it a virus? Is it not a virus? If everything shuts down and the government gives out loans again, they're going to ask you, how much money does your business make? And they're going to ask you for one form of proof as to how much money your business made. And they're going to say, show me your business bank statements. We cannot pull up, well, no, see, that's not it. See, I got Cash App, and not, they don't want to hear. They're going to say business bank statements. Whatever is in there is what you're going to get funding on. Whatever is in there is what they're going to say your business is worth. Let's just say you're building your business and someone loves your idea, like, hey, I want to buy your business from you. What is your business worth? They're going to do a valuation of your business, and you're going to get paid, depending on the industry, 3 to 7 times what the business makes as the value of the business. What's in that business bank account? No one's going to listen to, well, you know, I make more than that. So everything must hit the bank. So cash, either you have a daily deposit, a day, like one day off the week, you put all the cash in, or you can go every day. But the cash has to hit the bank. You need to have a POS system, a Square, a PayPal, a Clover, and even your cash clients need to have an invoice. So if you have an invoice, that means in your POS system, it's going to show that cash being received, okay? So when you go into the bank and you have your bank statements, you know, showing that you make X amount of money, you know, no shade, but sometimes the people may not believe you, okay, depending on what that number is. So if you not only have your business bank statement showing how much money your business is bringing in, and then we have a third-party merchant, we have PayPal printing out a PayPal report, printing out a Square report showing that same number, you know, now you're like, what's good, okay? So that's a great way to verify how much income you have. Now, I always say you need to have multiple business bank accounts for your business. One, it makes your bookkeeping really clean, so your CPA or your tax accountant is going to love you for that, and they're going to charge you less because it's going to take less to really find out what your real numbers are. Number two, you don't want to bring a bank statement to the bank that has all your personal charges on it, okay? So the first bank statement you need is going to be an income account. All your income goes into one account. So when you make your cash deposits, you'll link your Square, your Clover, your PayPal account to this account. So this one bank statement has all your income in it. At the same bank, to make things easier, you'll have an expense account, okay? So your expense account will have a check card connected to it. You'll have checks connected to it. We will just transfer over money from the income account to the expense account. either daily, weekly, monthly, however your cash flow is, and you'll write your expenses out of your expense account. The income bank statement is the bank statement we're going to take into the bank. Okay, it's only going to have income coming in, and they will see wire transfers going out to your other accounts. Your expense account's only going to be expenses, so you're paying all your bills, your anything you have to swipe for vendors, all of that's coming out of your expense account. We are only paying business expenses out the business bank account. Okay, if you need money, if you need to pay yourself, I will get to that next, but we have to pay ourselves correctly. Remember, at Neiman's, is the CEO of Neiman's just taking the business credit card and getting a haircut? He's not, okay? Because if something were to happen and you were to get sued, the first thing the lawyer is going to do is subpoena those bank statements. Are you really separate? Is it really you and your LLC? Or are y'all all just one thing? If you're all just one thing, then everything you have comes into play. But if you're separate, then they got to take all your personal assets out, and they can only look at what the business has. Okay, so we're putting all the money in the bank. We have our POS system. We have our multiple bank accounts, our income account, our expense account. If you have payroll or you're paying people, I would have a third account for payroll. Okay. Number one, depending on the employees be slick, okay? They will run a scam on your bank account. So you do not want to have checks going out to people that have your account number on, because it's grimy out here. A scam will be created, okay? Number two, in your payroll account, your payroll company will link this account to the IRS to pay your payroll taxes. You don't want there to be a glitch in the system. They take too much money out, and now that's affecting the operating of your business. Okay, so you have your third account will be all your payroll, and then your fourth account will be where I say put money aside for either tax savings or saving money on the side. So we have a heavy month, we paid our bills, we have some money left over. We will then just put some money aside for a rainy day, because it is not always sunny in business. If you are just starting out and this sounds way too much, just start with 2 accounts, income and expenses. Keep it real simple, okay? The most important thing is running your business, setting yourself up. So if 4 accounts is like, baby, it's doing too much, no problem. 2 accounts, income and expenses. As your business grows, you then can get to the payroll account and the savings account, okay? So we got our entity structure. We got our contracts. We're running our business like a business. We have our business banking. We have our POS system. And then we are, let me see, business banking. Now we got to pay ourselves. Okay, so the first thing you need to realize in starting a business is that you may have to self-fund your business, meaning you may have to put your personal money into the business to get something to shake. That's just the belly of the beast. So you want to make sure that the money you're putting into the business is not going to be classified as income, because if I take $10,000 out of my personal account and I put it in my business account, if the IRS just takes my bank statements and sees that deposit, they're going to classify that initial capital investment as income and want me to pay taxes on that. But that's not income. I just put money from my personal from my personal account into the business. So you want to make sure that as you're self-funding your LLC or your corporation, that everything is documented so that it's classified correctly. So if you are self-funding your LLC, either you are investing in your LLC, meaning I'm going to put this money in and just use that to start the business, or I'm going to loan my business the money, meaning I'm giving my business this money, but once she gets up and running, I need her to pay me back this money, or I need her to pay me back this money with interest like a bank would. So if you are self-funding your LLC, you need some documents called either a capital contribution agreement or an LLC loan agreement. The capital contribution agreement is going to be when you first put the money in. So I'm putting X amount of money in to start my business. That's called a contribution, a capital contribution agreement. If you are saying, hey, I'm going to loan this money in, or hey, you know, this month is short. I need to put an extra $5,000 in to make sure I can pay all these bills or pay payroll, blah, blah, blah. Then you need an LLC loan agreement. If you need these documents, it's on my website under the LLC kit, okay? But these two documents make sure that as you're self-funding your LLC, the income will not, the investment will not be classified as income. It will just be like a loan to the LLC that will be paid back to you. Now, to pay yourself, you can pay yourself a couple of ways. The one thing we're not about to do is just take our business check card and go pay our bills, okay? If you do all that, you are no longer separate, you're just one, and we don't want that. It's also called piercing the corporate veil, you know, in legal land. So we don't want to just take our business check card and be paying all our bills. We don't want to just go into the bank and withdraw money. Remember, everything needs a paper trail. Everything coming into your business and out needs to be documented. So, depending on how your cash flow is, maybe you got to start off with just paying yourself a little bit or randomly. Okay, so let's just say this month, maybe we have an additional $2,000 that you can now pay yourself. You will take a check and you'll write yourself a check from your expense account for $2,000. On the memo line, we'll say a distribution. Okay, so if you are a member of an LLC and you take money out of the company, it's called a distribution. Okay, so that way that check is documented. A check is a paper trail. So we're not taking cash out. We want to know where did the money go. So we're writing a check to ourselves, distribution, taking the money out. Eventually, you want to be able to run your business like a multi-million-dollar business. If you've ever worked at a real company, Popeyes, Walmart, wherever, and you get a paycheck, you're going to get a check with your name on it, and then you're going to have taxes being taken out. So eventually, as the owner of the business, you want to have a payroll check that has taxes taken out. So once you get up to the level of, hey, my cash flow can sustain me making $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, whatever, you want to then put yourself on payroll, ADP, Executive Pay, QuickBooks, whoever, and have them pay you payroll and taxes are taken out. Because now that you're a multi-million-dollar business owner, we're not about to get a refund, okay? So all that refund, re-up, boom, boom, doesn't happen in business world, okay? In business world, we write checks, okay? So we write checks to the IRS. We want the check that we write to be as minimal as possible, okay? So once your business gets up going, now I'm not saying year one we're writing checks. Normally it may take a couple of years, but your business should not be taking a loss. After 5 years, the IRS is like, baby, it's a hobby, so we can't just keep taking out these losses. So eventually you are going to have to write a check to the IRS. So mentality change, multi-million dollars means we write checks. We don't get money back from the government. So you will get a payroll check once a month, every 2 weeks, with payroll taxes being taken out. If you are a W-2 employee, meaning your business is paying you taxes, the business then can deduct your payroll as a business expense and the payroll taxes. I'll say it again. If you are a W-2 employee of your business, meaning you're giving yourself a payroll check, a check that has taxes taken out, you can deduct on the LLC side whatever is your payroll and the payroll taxes. If you write yourself a check for the distribution, you cannot deduct that. Now, what makes having an LLC great is you can kind of remix the two rules. The two ways of getting yourself paid. So you can pay yourself half distribution and half W-2. So if I'm going to pay myself $5,000 a month, I can write myself a check for $2,500 as a distribution, and I would get that full $2,500, no taxes taken out. And I can take the other half as a W-2 employee with Medicare, FICA, SSI, all that good stuff taken out. So I'm kind of paying some of my taxes out during the year, but I'm still taking some of my money tax-free. So I'm kind of remixing the two worlds. So my tax bill at the end of the year won't be that big, but I'm still compliant. I'm still running it efficiently. You know, if I'm trying to get a car and get financed, or I'm trying to buy a house, I have documentation showing what it is that I'm making, but I'm still getting the benefit of getting some money out of my business tax-free. So I would say that would be the basis of starting your business and running it correctly. Any questions? Oh, I didn't get the business credit. Hold on. So, business credit. So when you are first starting your business, you are just pouring all this money into your business, because a business is like a baby. It just needs something all the time, okay? So what you want to do is make sure that your business is what I call verifiable and credible, okay? Because at the end of the day, you and your LLC, or you and your LLCs, want to be able to walk into the bank and say, hey, I need a loan. You want to be able to walk into the bank and say, hey, I want to get a company car only in my business EIN. I don't need you running my credit, okay? If you're a business owner, your credit is probably not the best for this reason. It don't have to be bad because you just late on payments. As you are funding your business, if you have taken out any kind of loans, any lines of credit, a lot of times your debt to income ratio is going to be stretched, especially if you are working a job and then you have a business on the side. Your credit can be not the best due to the utilization, because you're trying to fund your business. And so the amount of debt that you're carrying, although it's working on something else in the credit world, is bringing down your credit score. Also, with running a business, you don't want to have to keep, being a PG. You don't want to keep having to, have your credit ran, trying to get funding for your business, because that's all these inquiries. I know I'm not saying it right, but all of them checking your credit is going to bring your credit score down. So business credit is great, but we first got to have a verifiable and credible business, okay? So as you're forming your business, we cannot have our business have a home address, okay? No multi-million-dollar business has their corporate headquarters at their home. I'm not saying you can't run a home-based business. I'm not saying you can't make 7, 8 figures out of your home with a home-based business. What I am saying is any home-based business has a corporate headquarters that is not at their house, meaning you have to have a business address. So the first thing you need to have, if you don't have an actual storefront, will be a virtual address. Not a P.O. box, not a UPS box, a virtual address. When I walk to this commercial building, if I Google the address, some commercial property pops up. If I walk into that address, it's going to look like a commercial office. It'll have a receptionist there. Hi, how can I help you? There will be offices there, and you pay this virtual address company $39, $40 a month to be able to have an address at that virtual office. Okay, so your LLC documentation needs to have the same address on it, or your virtual address. Your EIN documentation needs to have the same address. When you apply to get your Dun & Bradstreet number, it needs to have the same address. So all your information is consistent, okay? So we got to have a virtual address. Number 2, we got to have some kind of social media pages coming up. If I walk into the bank and I'm like, hey, I'm the owner of Joyce Earrings, I want a loan, the first thing that the underwriter is going to do is they're going to type in Joyce Earrings into Google, and they want to see what pops up. Okay, so number 1, a website should pop up, and then we need to have some kind of social media presence, an Instagram page, a Facebook page, so things are popping up when they type in Joyce Earrings. Because if you have a business and you're asking for money, they want to make sure that you can pay them back the money. If you got a homeboy, you got your best friend, she ain't got no job, she stay at home all day, or he's at home all day, they don't have no money, and they say, hey, can I borrow $1,000? You about to be like, no. Because why? They can't pay you back. Well, When you walk in the bank with your LLC paperwork and your EIN saying, give me some money, they want to know, can you pay them back? Well, I need some startup money, and I need this, baby. They don't care what you need. Can you pay me back? Can Joyce Earrings pay me back? Okay, so virtual address to make us look like a real business. And then we need to have, when they Google it, you gotta have a website. Okay, you cannot go ask the bank for money and you don't have a corporate website. It doesn't have to be 10 pages. You ain't gotta have the best website in the world, but you gotta have some kind of online presence. We need to have a business social media page. Not your page with little Kiki and them from the barbecue. We need to have a branded business page. What are your corporate colors? With your corporate logo, so everything. Okay, you got an Instagram page, you got a Facebook page, you got a website. I Google your address. Okay, we got some real, what's the business? On the application, they're going to ask you what's your email address. Do you think they're about to give you some money and you put down Gmail, Yahoo, iCloud? What's Walmart's email address? Is it Walmart@gmail.com? What's Saks' email address? Is it Saks at yahoo.com or is it info@saks.com? Is it customer service at saks.com? You got to have a branded email address. Go to GoDaddy.com. It may cost you $2 a month to get you a branded email address. info@joyceearrings.com. Makes you look real legit, okay? So you want to make sure that all your information is consistent. So my address on my LLC paperwork matches the address on my EIN, matches the address on my bank statements, matches the address on my Instagram page, matches the address on my Facebook page, and the address on my website. So we are verifiable. There are a couple more things you got to do. I'm trying to give you just the basics. We got our business bank account. We got our LLC documentation. Our LLC is active. We're good. Now, you can walk into the bank, or LLC number 1 can walk into the bank, and LLC number 2 can walk into the bank, and now I can get a line of credit in my business name. Now I can get some credit cards in my business name. Now I can get a vehicle in my business name. But before you walk into the bank, we got to make sure that we have our structure done correctly, okay? In the business world, it's real grimy, okay? They're looking for ways to say no. So you want to make sure that all your ducks are in a row, especially if you look like me, okay? Meaning you're a little melanated, you black, okay? They are looking for a reason to tell us no. No shade, that's just, it is what it is, okay? So you want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row before you go into the bank, okay? So that is the general gist of running a business. Now, what they're not going to tell you on social media is that this shit is hard, okay? You are not about to make 6 figures when you get off this live or on this Zoom, okay? You are not going to be a millionaire in 30 days. If you buy anything off my website, you are not going to be a millionaire in 90 days. That's not how it works, okay? It's something called life. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what kind of education you have or you don't have. Life is just hard, okay? Life is going to throw those Mike Tyson blows at you. So as you're starting your business journey, if you're just in life, whatever, you are going to get knocked down. You have to have a why. Why are you starting this business? Why are you venturing off? Why are you going to leave your 9 to 5? Why are you doing this? And your why cannot be tied to a thing. I'm doing this to get me a Chanel. I'm doing this to get me a Bentley. I'm doing this. If it's tied to a thing, baby, then Mike Tyson blows going to be so hard. You're going to be like, girl, forget that Chanel. I can give me a little Michael Kors. Forget that Bentley. This Benz is just fine. Your why has to be something that is strong, so that when life throws those blows, you're like, I cannot quit because I promised my mama I was going to retire her. I can't quit because I don't want my kids see me have to depend on no man. I can't quit because I don't want to turn back to these streets and get locked up again. Like, what is your why? So before you get the LLC and all this stuff, you got to have like a vision for what you are doing and why you are doing this, because after you knock out all that stuff I just told you to do, you still got life. And no matter how much money you make, life is still going to be hard. Your hard is just going to be different. So, any questions?
That was amazing, Joy. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I saw that. Felicia, you had a question about your tax election as an LLC. You want to go ahead and voice that to Joy yourself?
Sure. Hey, Joy.
Hey.
Hey, I had a question. First of all, thank you for this wealth of information. My notes are off the page.
Hey.
So, as an LLC, should I change my tax election
To an S corp?
as an S corp?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the benefit of being an S corp is that you don't have to pay the 14% self-employment tax that you have to pay if you are a member of an LLC. However, if you choose to be taxed as an S corp, your LLC will then have to file a separate return. And then there's going to be additional bookkeeping that you have to do. And then one of the owners of an LLC has to be on payroll. So you have to have, a payroll check coming out. The business either biweekly or monthly with payroll taxes. Okay, so I normally say a good rule of thumb is once your business gets to about that 6-figure mark, the benefit of not paying the self-employment tax is a big enough benefit for you to incur the additional cost of the payroll taxes and the additional tax return. If you are a new business, you're not quite making 6 figures a month, you're probably going to be paying more in admin costs and payroll taxes than that 14% tax is. I always say talk to your tax professional, but I wouldn't make that S corp election until you're closer to 6 figures.
Yeah,
for it to make sense.
Yeah, so I know that most of the participants, their business is pretty new.
Okay.
And so, may have or may have not gotten to the point of getting the LLC and what have you. Let's say you're starting off and it's kind of like a side thing, hobby or what's not. How does that affect you filing taxes?
You would report it.
Let's say you do hair. Let's say you do hair. You're braiding hair.
Mm-hmm.
But you really haven't set up this is a separate business from you're doing hair on the side, but you're working full time. So when you go to file your taxes, you're saying, "Well, I have a business," but it's not necessarily set up as an LLC or anything like that.
That's called being a sole proprietor. And that would be on a form called a Schedule C.
Okay. Anybody else has any more questions? I know we skipping over that 1 hour mark.
Yeah, just for clarification for writing checks to myself, I have a business account. So I will write a check to myself as a dividend distribution, and the other half I want that coming into some type of payroll. Correct? So let's say $3,000 a month. Should I do $1,500 half and half?
That's fine.
Okay.
Joy, I know a lot of what you mentioned here are really good nuggets to walk away with, but is there anything as a new entity, as a new business, somebody starting out, anything that will be critical to know to please avoid doing this? Please
avoid running a business as a DBA. Please avoid running a business as a DBA. Please avoid running a business as a DBA. You're setting yourself up for a lawsuit because if you're doing business, you're the person that's going to get sued, not the LLC. So if you braiding hair, your first little $300, $400, $500 invested in yourself and form an LLC so that you can remove yourself from any liability.
Okay. And just as you say that, so the cost to go ahead and form an LLC, is that something done through a lawyer? How do you go about doing that, and what's that cost?
The cost depends on you're in Illinois?
I'm in Georgia.
You're in Georgia. Okay. So the cost depends on the state. The filing fees range between $100 and like $300. And then you can either hire an attorney to do it. You can do it yourself online, whatever you feel like you want to do. But the filing fees range between $100 and $300, depending on the state.
Okay. All right, looks like we got one more question. Oh, 150 for Illinois. Thank you, Felicia. All right, if we don't have any more questions, I just want to thank you, Joy, again.
No problem.
For allowing me to harass you on Instagram.
No problem, girl.
We really appreciate you sharing all of this. I know you touched on a couple of things we talked about in the past couple of weeks. And just appreciate it. To the rest of the group and everybody pretty much, have a good evening. I really appreciate you guys coming here today. And we're gonna...
Okay, if you DM me, give me maybe 72 hours to get back to you because, my little DMs are a little booked. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Grant writing. Okay, so in my business grant bundle, I give you the grant templates and I give you a grant workbook that shows you how to construct your statement of need. Okay, so if you want to get a business grant, first, of course, you got to have an LLC, EIN, and business bank account for them to put the money in the business bank account. But a statement of need is just going to be why do you need the money? Why do you need the money? And what are you going to use the money for? You also need to have a nice detailed budget. So in my grant workbook, I give you some adjectives to use to kind of make your need, kind of stand out. So when the grant reviewer is reading your proposal, it sounds great. And then I'm trying to teach you how to write a grant. So you may say, I never wrote a grant before, but cool. At one point in time, you never could read before, you never could write, but you learned it. So if you can learn how to write your own grant, there's no limit to how many grants you can apply for. And so every month you can apply to multiple grants trying to get some money in, because a grant you don't have to pay back, unlike a loan where, there would be a monthly payment. Okay. Let me see what other questions I have that I did not answer. Yes, I'm going to save this live and I will repost it. Okay, I actually need you so bad in Illinois for my business. Okay, go ahead and book a consultation. Yes, you can still buy the business grant bundle. Okay, see questions. Let me try having questions. Checking for questions. If I already made this mistake, is it fixable? Yes, any mistake is fixable. If you've made a mistake in anything that I've said, you can fix it. Okay, you can fix it. It's okay. I don't want you all getting off this live saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm screwed." It's okay. If you want me to kind of explain to you or help you fix your problem, just book a consultation with me. What can you do if you currently have a DBA under your LLC and want to separate the DBA to stand on its own? You would then just form an additional LLC and you don't need that DBA. The only reason why you would want to have a DBA would be if you want to do business in a different name than what your LLC name is. So if you have a real corporate name like Joy Enterprises and I want to do business as Joy's Earrings, and I would form my LLC, but I would DBA the name so I can do business as Joy's Earrings, but I'm still functioning as Joy's Enterprises. Okay, let me try. I have no more questions. What about vending? How do you account for the raw cash?